Namaste. Good afternoon. Nice to be here with you. Been thinking backwards. A lot of contemplation about being a youngster. And I have to tell a story here today, again, from my childhood. I remember moving to Oxnard, California from Thousand Oaks, previously from Mojave Desert, Ridgecrest. But anyway, in Ventura they had the county fair, and for kids, to this day, county fairs are fun, aren't they? And I did a little timeline. That's why I was going through the schools, probably third grade. So if I had to guess, that's around 8 or 9 years old. Anyway, around that time. And I remember one of my favorite places to go was the big old barn. And it was 4-H club, which was kind of an agricultural, they raised animals. And then they would auction them off. That was pretty sad, but I guess it was part of living with the reality of what it would be like to be a farmer, and that you raise animals as food. Anyway, they would have these prize. They just took, each club would take care of the cow and feed and groom and decorate. It was so, scrubbed and washed up and cleaned for this county fair. And remember, hold my mom's hand because it was crowded, and little boys tend to run away if they can. Truth be known. Anyway, I was no different. Just a handful. My mom had 2 of us, and fortunately she had a little girl that would kind of look out, even though she was the youngest. It's ironic, isn't it? Anyway, women are the most nurturing. So, boys are the biggest troublemakers. Break things. Test the limits. Push for the limits. But anyway, remember walking by and looking, and the cow was in his pen. And you could pick up some hay and feed the hay, and then, it was a big kick to give the cow some hay. Heifer, I guess. Beautiful animal. Black and white, I think, but who knows? That's how I remember it. But anyway, when I got close enough to him, he put his head down to get the hay, and then he looked at me with those sad cow eyes and said to me, "Please, don't eat me." And he said again, "Don't eat me." And I heard him as clearly as I hope you're hearing me now. Not even please, don't eat me. The pleading was in the voice. Don't eat me. And somehow the cow knew that his time had come, because that was after the show. They would be auctioned and sold to the highest bidder, and sold to slaughter to feed us McDonald's hamburgers. It's really a come down for the poor cow. You're going to be a McDonald's burger, buddy. And this was in the days that I think McDonald's was already going, but a burger was 10 cents. You could get 10 for $1, I remember. Anyway, the poor guy probably ended up. But I remember later telling my mom, I was telling her the story, said the cow talked to me and asked me not to eat him. And she laughed and she said, "Silly boy, cows don't talk. Animals don't talk." And before then I knew that my dog talked to me, and my experience was quite contrary all the way up to 9 years old, is that I heard animals spoke to me. I could hear them, and I thought everybody, part of growing up is finding out what everybody else had found out. Usually by some adult, some authority telling you. And you know what? I never heard animals talk again. Now, I remember thinking this through clearly, and I never felt that I was wrong that animals didn't talk. What I felt instead, because of interference, no matter how well meant, but interference of my mother, my parent, into my arena, my world, my rich fantasy, make-believe, whatever you want to call it, castles in the sand is nice. Anyway, animals talked, and afterwards they didn't choose to talk to me again because I had the seed of doubt had been planted. And as parents, this is one of our biggest responsibilities. We feel obligated, most parents, to... I remember always being evaluated by teachers as he's a dreamer. He's too much in the dream world, you know. He needs to get a grip on reality. Somehow, elusive grip has never been the easy thing. Get the grip on reality, but there's nothing there. It's hollow, it's empty. We know that. I've come to relearn it. But it took years of struggling with, well, that's real, and that's real, and that's real. And instead of learning, I had to learn that it's objects are manifested out of subject, and the subject is the self, and everything that I'm seeing is a manifestation. It's objectified. It changes. So I began looking for the unchanging. But anyway, let's go back to what we tell our kids. And notice, as I sit here in front of you, 66, let's use 66 years later, 67 years later, I still can hear that cow ask me not to eat them. And you know what? I stopped eating meat immediately. And of course, I asked my mom if I had to eat meat. You know, in those days, you know, I was a swimmer. I was on the swim team already. I've been on the swim team for 5 or 6 years at the age of 9 already. Got an early start. 3 or 4 in the pool, started swimming, probably first grade, competitively, AAU. Anyway, she wanted me to be big and strong, and I was already, you know, swimming all the time. I was already pretty strong. I still have my shoulders. Didn't have the belly, but I still have the shoulders to thank for those years in the pool. Anyway, Mom started noticing that our dog seemed unusually attached to me. Unusually attached because I would slip the meat off my plate onto the feed the dog. She says, this darn dog is getting so chubby, and I'm trying to put him on a diet. I put her on a diet. We always had females. Put her on a diet, and it's just not doing much good. And I was to stay a vegetarian, you know, lacto-ovo. I ate eggs, and I liked cheese and milk. And I never liked milk much, but cheese was my Achilles heel. In fact, pizza was my ideal vegetarian cheese pizza. Ideal vegetarian diet, or bean burrito. Yeah, this is the kind of vegetarian I was. Certainly not to the vegan standards of today. But, so I was always chubby. And then I wrestled with this. I remember about 18, 19, rebellious, starting university, I started to eat some meat again, and lightly eat meat, and developed a taste for white meats, chicken in particular, but stayed away pretty much from the heavier porks, the red meats. And then I became reconverted to vegetarian and became one until I was probably, I think I was 33, as always, 33 years as a serious vegetarian. But I warmed up as a youth, and then fell off the wagon, had my share of McDonald's burgers in high school. 10 for $1, how could you go wrong? Anyway, just talking about how we're influenced by those that we're surrounded with, our elders, our family. And I think we need to develop to be pretty careful and be pretty cautious. What we tell our kids is matter of fact. Especially if they're going to grow up and discover that nothing's real anyway. Learn about Maya and illusion, and learn about confusion from illusion, and giving up on trying to be realistic. Get real, yeah, right. Stay unreal. And animals can talk. I'm still convinced to this day. If we would but listen, and if it's this kind of opening your mind to hear the cows talk, this is what I call about quieting the mind and listening to something that's counterintuitive. It flies in the face of everything that you've been taught, because that's how spiritual practice is. That's what you're going to find out as you embark on this journey, that everything that you thought was isn't. All that is isness. The space between the heartbeats, the space between the breaths. That's silence, that isness.